out a restraining radio signal. The defensive systems were simply overloaded. And when the bombs ran out, the missiles carried dust and germs and gas. On and on. For 6 days and 6 fire-lit nights. Launch, boost, coast, re-enter, death. And now it was over, the CIA man thought. The missiles were all gone. The airplanes were exhausted. The nations that had built the weapons no longer existed. By all the rules he knew of, the war should have been ended. Yet the fighting did not end. The machine knew better. There were still many ways to kill an enemy. Time-tested ways. There were armies fighting in 4 continents. Armies that had marched overland, or splashed ashore from the sea, or dropped out of the skies. Incredibly, the war went on. When the tanks ran out of gas, and the flamethrowers became useless, and even the prosaic artillery pieces had no more rounds to fire, there were still simple guns and even simpler bayonets and swords. The proud armies, the descendants of the Alexanders and Caesars and Temujins and Wellingtons and Grants and Rommels, relived their evolution in reverse. The war went on. Slowly, inevitably, the armies split apart into smaller and smaller units, until the tortured countryside that so recently had felt the impact of nuclear war once again knew the tread of bands of armed marauders. The tiny savage groups, stranded in alien lands, far from the homes and families that they knew to be destroyed, carried on a mockery of war, living off the land, fought their own countrymen if the occasion suited, and revived the ancient terror of hand-wielded, personal, one-head-at-a-time killing. The CIA man watched the world disintegrate. Death was an individual business now, none the better for no longer being mass-produced. In agonized fascination, he saw the myriad ways in which a man might die. Murder was only one of them. Radiation, disease, toxic gases that lingered and drifted on the once innocent winds. And, finally, the most efficient destroyer of them all, starvation. 3 billion people, give or take a meaningless 100 million, lived on the planet Earth when the war began. Now, with the tenuous thread of civilization burned away, most of those who were not killed by the fighting itself succumbed inexorably to starvation. Not everyone died, of course. Life went on. Some were lucky. A long darkness settled on the world. Life went on for a few, a pitiful few, a bitter, hateful, suspicious, savage few. Cities became pest holes. Books became fuel. Knowledge died. Civilization was completely gone from the planet Earth. The helmet was lifted slowly off his head. The CIA man found that he was too weak to raise his arms and help. He was shivering and damp with perspiration. "Now, you see," Ford said quietly, "why the military men cracked up when they used the computer." General Leroy, even, was pale. How can a man with any conscience at all direct a military operation when he knows that will be the consequence? The CIA man struck up a cigarette and pulled hard on it. He exhaled sharply. "Are all the war games like that? Every plan?" "Some are worse," Ford said. "We picked an average one for you. Even some of the brushfire games get out of hand and end up like that." "So, what do you intend to do? Why did you call me in? What can I do?" "You're with the CIA," the general said. "Don't you handle espionage?" "Yes, but what's that got to do with it?" The general looked at him. "It seems to me that the next logical step is to make damned certain that they get the plans to this computer. And fast!" End of The Next Logical Step by Ben Bova. Recording by Bill Russom of TalkingTraffic.org.